it's now time to start here. The textiles industry and its role concerning the use of synthetic fibers is immense and tremendous, and we've been already discussed some of the key issues regarding plastics, and we've heard some bits on examples in the textile sector, and I'm so happy and honored to have Albin and Paolo with me in this interactive forum for today, and I'm also happy to just introduce both of them, and please add whatever I've probably missed. Paolo Pezzin is Senior Raw Material Manager and Circular Sustainable Material Expert at VF Corporation. He holds a degree in textile engineering from Polytechnic University of Turin, has been working for the VF Corporation since 2007, and since 2013 he is responsible for the Napapijri brand. Previously he held various positions in the textile industry, including research development and material, as well as product sourcing, for example, for the Victoria's Secrets brand, the material sourcing topic in the EMEA region. Paolo, what have I missed to tell our audience about you?
I think so. First of all, good afternoon to all of you, and thank you to give me the possibility to participate to this forum. And basically, you didn't miss anything.
Okay, I'm happy for now. We continue with Albin before you tell us about your projects with Cradle to Cradle at Napapijri. Albin Kaelin, he is founder and owner of EPEA Switzerland, as well as accredited assessor for the Cradle to Cradle certified standard. He is, with his former occupations, he was member of the supervisory board of Fine Elast Group, as well as he was active as CEO at the EPEA Internationale Umweltforschung in Hamburg, as well as with EPEA Netherlands, and he was as well active as managing director at Rona Textile AG in Switzerland, where he developed the Klimatex product line, the first cradle-to-cradle products at that time worldwide. So Albin is a very well-known cradle-to-cradle expert, and not only, especially with his focus on textiles. Albin, I'm very happy to have you as my guest here in our interactive forum. What have I missed?
Yeah, thank you, Tim, for the kind introduction, and welcome to everyone. I don't think you have missed anything. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm here for helping us with those questions. So I'm leaving the floor at the moment because you want to show us some things within your presentation as well. We have some videos. So please start, dear Albin and Paolo. The floor is yours.
Yeah. So let's start with the videos first.
And are we're seeing both videos, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So we start the first video now for everyone in the stream. Video, and we're just adding a second, rather shorter one.
Designing the future of circular fashion. 100% recyclable, 100% circular. One material, regenerated. Take back program. Close the loop.
Thanks for sharing these two videos about those projects, and I may invite you to continue. Albin and Paolo. You can continue now.
Paolo, it is your turn.
Okay. So basically, let's start from the beginning. Albin, can you move the slides? Okay, so Napapijri is an Italian brand. It was born in 1987 from the idea of an Italian entrepreneur in Valle d'Aosta together with two young designers. Then the brand has been acquired from VF in 2005, and since there it belongs to VF Corporation, that is one of the biggest apparel and footwear maker in the world. Being part of VF, VF is very conscious about sustainability and corporate social responsibility and so on. And being part of VF, each brand of VF started a journey in the apparel industry or in the footwear industry in order to reach as much as possible the best level of sustainable innovation that we could create in the market. As Napapijri, we started some years ago. So Albin, if you can move the slide on. And here I just want to show you quickly what it was our innovation on sustainability pipeline. Actually, we started in 2009, 2010, creating the first jacket that was fully made with recycled component. At that time, it was quite an early stage, that type of product, because we couldn't find fabrics and paddings, but at the end we could collect and we create the first jacket that was made with, it was fully made in polyester recycled. Then we started with a proper roadmap starting from 2012, where we decided from that year to become as much as we could animal-free brand. So basically we started to develop with a Japanese company a fake fur that we called eco fur that was very close to the real fur, and we still have in our collection. Then one of our biggest milestone was in 2014, where we developed an insulation that we register as thermofiber in order to avoid to use real down. And this, it was 2 years before all the story that went out on the down production and use. Then in 2017, we started to work on our 2022 series with the concept of creating as much as possible the lightest jacket with the best worn performance we could achieve. And we have been able to reduce the weight of our parka around 60%. In 2018, we developed the Zenith line, where basically we decided to develop a product directly on the flat knitting machine. So all the products are without sewing and so on. And basically you can as well, at the end of life of the product, deknit that kind of product, and you have a lower waste on the production. Then on 2019, we launched our circular series. And basically in 2020, we achieved the Cradle to Cradle certification for our nylon circular jacket. If you can move to the next slide, Albin. The reason why we decided to to work on this project of the circular jacket, I could say there are two main reasons. The first reason, it was we are anyhow an outerwear brand. More than 50% of our turnover is given from the jacket. And we started to see this kind of problem that at the end of life, a complicated product like jacket, you don't know what to do and basically how you can dispose that type of product. So as there are several tons every year that are becoming waste in the textile production, we started to think on a different way. Basically, what we did, once we met the guy from Aquafil, and they were proposing us the ECONYL product, just with the idea of selling one type of fully recycled nylon yarn, we started to think, okay, but if you can depolymerize that type of nylon from production waste, if we are able to provide you a jacket that it's fully made in nylon 6, would you be able to basically depolymerize that jacket? And we started this process in 2014, 2015, and we started to work closely with Aquafil in order to see what we were missing in order to make that type of jacket. And we realized that basically we were missing a lot of things. So if, Albin, you can move to the next slide, maybe we can go as well to another one. So basically we started to think, okay, how should we do? We could make something that it can be easily disassembled, that on a jacket it's really complicated, or we could make something that it's made only from a single material. And basically we started to think this in a different way, in the meaning that we started to think, okay, what can I do once the product reached the end of life? And we started to think in the opposite as normally a designer is thinking. So basically we started this roadmap, and as I was telling you before, we realized that we were missing everything. We were missing, apart from the shell and the lining fabric that it was quite easy to find in nylon, we were missing all the zip closure, a lot of technical trims. We were missing as well the insulation, because no insulation was made in nylon at that time. Actually, at the beginning, insulation were made in nylon like 40 or 50 years ago, but then everything swapped to polyester. So we tried to create the first type of product of raw material based on nylon. We made the first prototype jacket that was amazing at the first slot. But then once we tried to make this jacket, we tried to give a care label to this jacket, we realized that everything was collapsing altogether. So we restarted again and we reworked all this type of product in order to be able then in 2019 to go in the market, and basically with a lot of novelties and small and big innovation. I can recall the insulation, a lot of trims, zip closure, the sewing thread. We have been able to put in the market this jacket, and we got confirmation from basically Aquafil that the jacket would have been recycled. They made several trials and they say, okay, this type of jacket, as it is constructed, because of the type of material you are using, can be easily disassembled, depolymerized in our production facility. So we launched this jacket. And after basically 6 or 7 months, we were launching that jacket, we met with Albin and we spent one afternoon talking together about the circularity and what it was cradle to cradle and so on. So as a team, we went out from that meeting quite confused with what it was cradle to cradle and so on, but with the decision and the idea of making this jacket cradle to cradle. And basically, once we started to talk with Albin and we talked for several months with him, we brainstormed, we realized that we had to restart everything from the scratch. But the good thing that we realized, it was that it was not so, at the end we realized that it wouldn't have been really interesting to make one jacket cradle to cradle. We said, instead of making one jacket, why don't we create a platform where everything is produced on that supply chain, on that platform, can be cradle to cradle certified. So we started this journey with Albin, and basically we started again to remake everything. We had to remake all the components according to the cradle to cradle certification. And first of all, we had to select the right partner. And at the end of the day, we succeeded. We got the gold certification, and we are able to make as well the take back program. So what we are doing is something that it's really working. After 2 years, if you have registered your jacket into the website, you can, if you want, send it back to us, and we will take care of depolymerize this jacket. Of course, honestly speaking, our aim is to receive as less as possible jacket to be depolymerized, because we think that our product should last for more, have to last for more. Actually, Napapijri has been always a brand that was using products that were lasting for many years. I still have here jackets that have 20 or 30 years made in Cordura and so on. So our idea was, okay, let's try to make the best type of product it's possible. Let's try to make the product that can last, but let's give the possibility to our product at the end of life to go back and to return to the original state. And this, it was the thing from where we started and where we still working and developing on, because we started with a jacket. Now we have as well a sweatshirt. We did pants. We are working on backpacks. We are doing a lot of trial, and we are year by year implementing this type of product types, product categories, in order to give the possibility to our customer to have a better and a bigger offer of product. And we are as well starting to work to the biological cycle on the cotton side, in order to create as well the same type of product according to the biological cycle of cradle to cradle on the cotton side. Basically, I would say my part, I try to explain everything that I could.
Paolo, maybe we're going a little bit deeper on the registration on the platform.
So basically, once you buy the jacket, you find a QR code. Once you read this QR code, it redirects you to the registration website. You register your purchase, and after 2 years, you have the right to ship it back, that jacket. We say that at least you should keep your jacket for 2 years. The concept behind this is that in the future, we think that the concept would be, you are not owning a product, you are, let's say, using a design, basically. And once you ship it back, you will receive a purchase discount from your next purchase, because we said, okay, we pay back the cost of the raw material, because at the end you are just buying the design from Napapijri, you are not buying a jacket. And this concept is as well considered in the maybe later future, when most probably we are not going to buy any more things, but we are just using things in terms of renting or leasing things. If you imagine a car, like 30 years ago, it was quite common to buy a car. Nowadays, it's quite rare to buy a car. You are leasing your car. Basically, you are how could I say, buying the use of a product. You're not buying anymore a product. It will be most probably the future, even for a simple reason, the scarcity of raw material. At the end of the day, we will have to cope with what we have in our planet, and we will need to be able to give several possibility of use to the same thing.
Would you like to tell something about the return flow?
So basically, the return flow nowadays is organized where, honestly, at the beginning, we didn't sell yet millions and millions of jackets. So anyway, the return for the time being is made in this way. Everything is going back to our warehouse. And after we reach a good amount of quantity, Aquafil is taking care about picking back all these kind of things. We already sent back to Aquafil a container of cutting waste on the garment manufacturing, because the garment manufacturing is made in Indonesia. So we say to our supplier in Indonesia to keep aside all the cutting waste, and every 2 years we organize a container or half container in order to ship back all this kind of production scraps to Aquafil, where Aquafil has got the knowledge and the technology to do this kind of things, because basically you're moving rubbish around the world and you need to know how to prepare the paperwork in order to do these kind of things.
If I may add something to this, because there's one question of Patricia Strupp, and I think it fits to this point, because she's asking, just to be sure, everything is 100% ECONYL. There are no quality issues. That's her question.
So it's not everything 100% ECONYL, is everything in nylon 6. Of course, majority is ECONYL, but everything has to be made in nylon 6. And we are using ECONYL in terms of polymer for our trims. We are using ECONYL for the fabrics, but for some type of component, we cannot use ECONYL, but we use as well other sources of nylon that are Cradle to Cradle certified. And year by year with Albin, we are implementing the supply chain and the raw material, because we need to enlarge the availability of product. We can't just use only ECONYL.
Thanks for answering. And please send in more questions. Thanks, Patricia. Please continue, guys.
Okay, so basically from my side, what I can say is that this, to me, as far as I know, is the first concept of upcycling, or at least keeping the material at the original state in the textile industry. To me, I don't see any other, because normally in textile you do downcycling. If you think from cotton, then you can recycle the cotton, but then you are blending with polyester, and you, instead of using the cotton to make a nice fabric for shirt, you are making kitchen cloth or these kind of things. So with this type of process we are doing with ECONYL, we're basically going back to the original state of the product. And this is the reason why we are calling the infinity jacket, because basically you can remake the same jacket for an infinite number of times.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. We don't have any question yet, so if you guys want, you can continue, because I think there's more to come.
Yes, then I will take over. Thank you, Paolo.
You're welcome.
I think, we have done many projects. Next year I will be doing Cradle to Cradle for 30 years. And for example, our masterpiece is Wolford. Okay, Wolford, we had the introduction this morning from the head of the board of directors, Mrs. Jenny Shaw. And this is our masterpiece. But Wolford took over 5 years. And it's quite not possible in today's life to work on projects for 4 or 5 years. So the goal with Napapijri, which we call our dream project, because you need to have some dreams in life, the goal was to basically make this project happen in 12 months. But we had a virus situation, a crisis. It took us 14 months. This is world record. And I would like to show you how we have done this, because we needed to change our methodology, how we do these kind of projects. And it's about innovation. So first, I think it is over all these years, we at EPEA Switzerland, we have been able to develop a network of trust. You can see all these different brands that we're working with. And we are now in the position that we can basically interlink this network together and basically move forward. We are defining 3 roles that we need to implement in our project. So the first is in the supply chain, we are using the role as a knowledge trustee. Because we don't have laboratories, we want to know the information from the supply chain, what is really in there. And cradle to cradle, once 100 parts per million, it's 0.01%. And industry is required by legislation to disclose all the toxic chemicals which are above 1,000 parts per million, which is 0.1%. And they have to declare this at the safety data sheet. So cradle to cradle is going much, much deeper. The second point is that now the EU Eco label is going towards 100 ppm, and as well in the new draft of the Blue Angel, it's as well going down to 100 ppm. But it's very crucial to get basically the information, transparency, full transparency from the supply chain, and only in the role as a knowledge trustee, you can get this. And we implement the science, so we are working together with different material health assessors who are accredited. We are trying to include them very close in the projects in a way that they are not directly involved, so that they can act impartial within the project. Within our team, we have 2 in Slovenia who are basically doing the certification, and they are not involved in our projects, so they can act impartial. The second role, it's about how to close the loop. And I think Paolo has demonstrated with Napapijri that the loop is closed. But the problem is that all the systems we are working in today are based on linear thinking. So we need to build totally different new networks of partners, or maybe make some transformation of partners. For example, a recycler today is not able to do a circular economy because he has to transform the way how he does this. And basically in this role as an innovation trustee, we can basically build these networks without naming who is behind the project, only we do this in a later stage. And the third role, we are accredited assessors for the cradle to cradle certification. So basically we can incorporate all the knowledge in the supply chain and with the brands into one network. But what is the new role? How do we do it? So basically, we take the entire supply chain, and this is what we have done with Napapijri. We have taken all the supply chain, and we are based in Switzerland, and as well Napapijri. Paolo is working from Switzerland, directly on the border to Italy. So we take the entire supply chain into a cable car, because we have very high mountains, 3,881 meters. It's the small Matterhorn. And basically, while we drive up with the cable car, we give the supply chain information. What are the positive materials, the positive chemicals, the positive colors, printing inks, and as well what kind of accessories we need. And very, very important, what kind of innovation we require, because it's cradle to cradle. And once we reach the top, everyone knows exactly what to do. So we get out of the cable car and everyone can start immediately with prototyping. And we, as EPEA Switzerland, are starting immediately after getting out of the cable car with the certification process. So this is the way how we are changing basically the timeline from 4 to 5 years down basically to 1 year of implementation. And we reached gold level and the loop is closed. So when we are talking about cradle to cradle, Paolo mentioned it, we are talking about materials, and I think that's quite important. We have on our website, EPEASwitzerland.com, a lot of case studies, about 24, and one is Aquafil. And I think for all the participants from Germany, it was the cover story of the Spiegel a couple of weeks ago, and the case study of Aquafil was mentioned. So I think that's quite important for you. Maybe you can check and you can read it. It's quite phenomenal what has been written there. So the next element is, Paolo was mentioning about the biological cycle. Napapijri is starting this route right now. And with Napapijri, with the technical cycle, with polyamide 6, it's a depolymerization. You can see that we have done different other projects. One were mentioned today already with Frosch. That is one of our projects, or with Wolfward. And of course, there are some hybrids, but hybrids are very, very tricky because you really have to separate the biological and technical cycle. How did we approach this project with Napapijri? And I think, you know, Napapijri is a brand. They are really wonderful and great how they communicate. You can see really how this really works in the certification. You see on the left-hand side, you see that basically you see the clear jacket. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, you see basically it's a shadow, it is gray, it is not transparent. And with the cradle-to-cradle certification, we really can make this transparent. But the question is, are we only going to certify one jacket, or are we going to integrate a system approach like a toolbox where we include all the materials, positively defined, all the chemicals, all the colors, all the printing inks, all the accessories, and then all products that will be manufactured from out of this toolbox are automatically certified under the condition that no other materials being added. And with this project with Napapijri, we need to say that there were 47 suppliers with a global supply chain. So there were suppliers from Europe, there were suppliers from Asia, and all of them have been able to be integrated. And I think the key of our team together with Napapijri, and especially with the help of Paolo, was really to select the right partners, which are the ones who are motivated to really join this journey. And Paolo, particularly because he has this huge amount of experience in materials, he was really able to select the right suppliers. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to reach this in 14 months. And if you look at this now, that basically we went down in this project, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. In some other projects, we are going down even to tier 5 or 6. You can see you really get full transparency. And Napapijri is now really working already on the collection for spring and summer 2023. This is how the fashion business works. And basically you can see all the options they could have. They could develop backpacks, bags, jackets, winter jackets, trousers. And the first jacket that has been out now is a windbreaker, and that's on the market. So basically it's a system approach which we integrated. And this we call supply chain domino knowledge transformation. And we have protected this name because it's a new kind of methodology how to really implement supply chains in a much faster way. So how do we do this? So this we do with all the projects. We have all the suppliers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. We are looking into production. So there we're looking at all the certification processes that we need to make, audits, site visit. I don't know how many site visits we have made, Paolo, during this project. There were probably about 60 we have done. It's quite remarkable, much more than the certification standard requires. Then it's about really defining the product. But then, and I think this is really crucial, how to develop a marketing and business model. And I think the brand Napapijri has done this very successfully. And we had very, very interesting and challenging meetings with the marketing and communication team. And then, of course, really getting this message to the consumer. And I think Napapijri is really doing this, and you have seen the 2 movies at the beginning. But Napapijri is really building a take-back system. It really works. And I think with this ability to basically register this at a platform, I think this is a really good enabler to really close the loop. And the reintegration into the current supply chain with Aquafil, with the Econil yarn, this is possible. So I think it demonstrates that basically this complexity that we have in all these projects with so many partners in the supply chain, but as well in the network, I think it is really remarkable that you can really get this in such a short time, basically to a result which is Cradle to Cradle Gold certified, and as well close the loop. And I think that is something that we need for many, many more companies in the fashion and outdoor industry. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Paolo and Albin. So interesting. So we should dive in more deeply. We have 20 minutes left. So to everyone watching this stream right now, this session, please send us your questions. I'm waiting for them. There's one already. So you can send us in more. There was so much in it. So I'd like to start. You said site visits. There were so many of them. How open were the people involved? I mean, I probably in some cases I have the feeling that in this degree of cooperation still, because it is more like a new way of doing business in the future. How was the feeling you got in terms of those partners, integrating them, and how open they were? Could you share us some of your findings about this?
Paolo,
and who,
you start.
Paolo
I can start. Okay, so the honestly, the reaction was quite unexpected at the beginning, but it was enthusiastic. So everyone, of course, I talked to several of our suppliers. Few of them, they said, no, we are not interested, we can't. But the one who said, yes, we want to be there, we can, they were really open to work with us and to work together and to work in a sort of what we call co-petition system, where we had as well some suppliers that were doing the same type of product, but they were sit at the same table trying each other to solve the problem or to create something new. It was really, let's say, a new way of working, in the meaning that it was not just a way to instruct your supplier, but it was a way to involve your supplier in this kind of holistic approach.
I see.
Yeah, if I'd like to add, I think the first time really we have done this together. So that means we as accredited assessors to making an audit site visit for the Cradle certification, but we always try to see that the client can be with the audit and site visit so that he can participate. Because what we are talking about here is a transformation of industry. So if you can basically take the client along, I think the motivation and as well the readiness to really get out of the box and really transform, I think that is a kind of a winning result or an outcome that we have achieved. When we started the project, we did not have results on printed inks, for example. But during this project, we were able, basically with close collaborations, to really get the leverage that the need for these kind of prints was basically forcing the chemical and pigment industry to move. There was another big challenge, which was the zipper, for example. There was a zipper in the first product development that Napapijri was doing. But of course, the chemicals included in the zipper were not the ones that we really wanted for a gold certification. And then I think one of the real challenges was the Velcro. Okay, so there, and never ever in the world of cradle to cradle there has been a Velcro at gold level. So we were able basically to use the knowledge of Napapijri and particularly of Paolo, and as well my knowledge of network with a lot of experience in the textile supply chain. We were able basically to identify a manufacturer who was able basically to the Velcro, which is now included in the first product, which was launched basically early this year. So I think, we had so many challenges in this project, but even though we made it possible, because I think everyone in the supply chain, because we informed them, everyone, there was a major meeting, a beautiful meeting. I remember very well. It was invited by Napapijri on the Lake of Como. So they invited the entire supply chain for an initial meeting at the Lake of Como. And there basically the demand from Napapijri to the supply chain basically was formulated. And this is how we call it today. We take the entire supply chain into a cable car. Well, effectively, it was on the Lake of Como in this project. So there are really so many challenges, but if you have the right motivation in the team and in the supply chain, and everyone wants to contribute, then you can find solutions today. And I think this is what it makes so remarkable. And I think this is one of the aspects why we call it our dream project.
Great. There's one more question which is rather technical. Probably this is a question for Albin. It's more or less a Cradle question. I don't know. There's the question of Econyl is for a technical circle. Someone asks, are there problems with microplastic in wastewater again? I thought. So this is the question. Albin, could you probably give a statement on this?
I think Paolo can give the first statement and we'll continue. Because this was a huge topic all the time.
Yeah, basically what we did with Econyl, we never developed any kind of polar fleece or brushed fleece because we wanted to avoid the problem of microplastic. So microplastic is something that can heavily generated from basically brushed product. So we said, okay, we are not going to make anything with brushed surface in order to minimize this problem. More than a microplastic, I would talk about microparticles at the end of the day, because for what I know, the biggest producer of microparticles are tires. So every time we drive our car, we create microparticles that then goes into the sea at the end of life. And of course, as Napapijri, we are looking as well to this. We are trying to find a solution. It's not an easy solution to be found because the industry is used to work from several years with polar fleeces and all these kind of things. And again, even here, I think it should be more than a solution of not doing something. It is more try to work together in order to find a solution to a problem that anyhow we have.
Yes, thank you very much, Paolo. And I think this is actually the point. It's, getting the awareness about maybe some of the problems, some of the issues, and how these problems may be solved. And there were so many discussions within this project that we really are eliminating microplastics. That basically the major decision was to really not to develop any brush products, even though these are huge sellers in the marketplace. So I think it's an ideal project to show as well that with basically filament yarns, which are synthetic and for the technical cycle, that basically you don't basically expose them to microplastics. And the same situation was with Wolford. We had the same kind of discussion there, and even a bigger problem because most of the products that Wolford is basically selling is made out of polyamide 6. Mm-hmm. So we are totally aware about the issue, and I think we found a very, very good, adequate solution to basically not get this exposure for these materials.
Thanks for answering this. And there's another question of Nico, who's asking, where do you start the supply chain, Domino? At the material side or from the product, or all 47 suppliers at once?
It is simultaneous engineering. So you need to, it's a holistic approach, cradle to cradle. So you need to basically engineer it sustainable in a way where it's really getting, every aspect has to be tackled, and there is no beginning. Okay, so you need to cover everything, and that makes it really challenging.
Paolo, you want to add something?
The thing is that, to me, we succeeded because we were not alone. I think a single person cannot do this kind of thing alone. You need really to work in a sort of a team. You need to create a team that it's made from your partner, your supplier, in order to foresee all the implication on what you are doing, because basically you can think to something, but maybe you don't know something else. So it's really an effort of a team. If you want to do this kind of thing only by yourself, or by, let's say, keeping these kind of things really confidential or secrets, it's quite complicated to me.
I see. And Albin?
And I think, now I think everyone understands why we from EPEA Switzerland talk about a network of trust. This is exactly what we need as a condition so that we can really develop these kind of innovations. Otherwise, it's not possible.
I see. So it's a rather a large complexity you need to handle. Coming to the economical side, I mean, I think as far as I see, there are many various aspects from production costs, research, development, and the way you can market it. And I would like to add in some minutes also to the discussion the supply and demand side on the market. But first of all, there's one question from Patricia Strupp again. Patricia is asking, how much does it cost to start actually with a simple product? I mean, probably this is not a simple product, even though this is a common question. What about the costs, guys? Can you tell us something about this?
So what I can tell is that the cost for a complicated product like jacket, it's quite high. I would say it's not, honestly, our jackets are not the first price jackets. So this is the one thing. The other thing is, and this is quite normal in the industry, once you develop something new, the supplier want to take advantage of this and charge a bit more cost, or you have this kind of implementation cost. I could give you another one example completely from a different industry. If you think to a flat screen TV, I remember the first flat screen TV were costing like 20,000 euro, 30,000 euro, and nowadays you can buy a nice flat screen TV 60 inch for 800 euros. So once you start and you make this kind of, let's say, implementation and so on, by default the costs are getting lower. just to give you an example, at the beginning we were paying a lot for the dye stuff for a simple reason, because the supplier were ordering just a small bucket of dye stuff, and this dye stuff, the cost of shipping 1 kilo or 10 kilo is more or less the same, but the cost can be split in 10 or 30 kilos or just in 1 kilo. So you have some let's say, startup costs that then start to decrease once you can start to make a more, let's say, massive production.
I see. Albin, something to add? Or
Yeah, thank you for Paolo to really mentioning this, because I think it is important. You know, these economies of scale, everyone talks about it, but to really implement it is really, really difficult. And I think, you know, this project is still going on. So this is never finished. Basically, you know, we got aware about these price mechanisms. And now as discussions start with the supply chain to basically get them at the normal level, back to a normal level, which I think it's quite, I would say, substantial to ask, because you know, they made the innovation, but now the innovation has been made, so now they have to look into the future. So the price level should be basically at the normal level than other products, because every one of our clients is competing with others in the marketplace. And I think the price issue is very crucial, especially with high-tech products like this. And I think it's a learning. I think in every project that we have, it is always coming down to the same issue and the same problem. And everyone wants to charge a little bit more. And if you multiply all the addings, then basically the products are far too expensive. And this is what we need basically to change. And I think Napapijri is already on the way how to change this for the next collection.
There's one more interesting question regarding this, more or less. The question is, could there be any better economical or political conditions to stimulate or facilitate these kinds of cooperation networks? What do you think about this? Because you've launched it from the business side. And this, may I add the question as well, is that your initiative, or are you reacting to a market pull? I've asked the same question in the last case, because for me it's also interesting to see where the market stands right now. So probably both, economical or political conditions to stimulate this, and what are your customers saying?
So from my side, I will say, of course, political, and more political in this moment than economical situation can push this type of way of thinking. Because if you just think from the economical point of view, economy is always looking for the cheaper possibility itself. So I think if politically government will decide that this is the way, then economic will follow. And then economic will understand the advantages of this kind of, let's say, sustainable innovation. If you think the economy of using things is far away more sustainable than still producing several things and selling the product. Selling the service is more, let's say, sustainable. And at the end, the industry realized that selling a service is much more, from the economical point of view, interesting than selling a product. If you go nowadays to buy a car and you say, I want to pay the car cash, they say, okay, fair enough, but you don't get a discount because you are buying a car. We prefer to lease you the car because we get more money, and then we can get back the car, and then we can dismantle the car. The same thing, I think, will happen as well, sooner or later as well, to the textile. If you think to the apparel industry now, there's a booming of second-hand product. Z generation is really interested on the second-hand product, and all these websites that are selling second-hand stuff are booming. So it's a different way of thinking. Of course, you cannot think, if you want to be, how could I say, economically or from the financial point of view, you want to be in the market. You cannot think to something that it will happen in 50 years. I visit one big German company some years ago, and they told me that they have developed the system for filtering the exhausted gas from a car like 40 years ago, but they never, or 50 years ago, but they never put in the market until the market started to request this. And basically these requests were coming from politics. So legislation said cars have to pollute less. So luckily they had already a solution, but they have never started to promote that solution, because they knew that even if they would have promoted when they invented, no one would have bought it, because no one was feeling the need of this kind of product.
Mm-hmm. Albin, anything to add from your side?
Just something quickly and short. I think, if you look at this entire outdoor industry, I think they are a greenwashing machine. So it is incredible what kind of sustainable messages the outdoor industry is promoting. And for us, I think it is so wonderful that we were able to get Napapijri really committed to go this road. It was not easy. And basically, they are now the lighthouse for the entire outdoor industry. And I think the signal is there. And this big signal for us is that the VF corporate, where Napapijri belongs to, if you go on their website and you look under sustainability, under circularity, they say that by 2030, they want to become circular. So I think, I think it's basically a kick into the industry that they need to make the change. And I'm very, very grateful to Napapijri, to Paolo, his entire team, that they were committed, because we didn't know if you're going to succeed. But now it's done, it's there, so it's possible.
I think your words are wonderful as being our closing remarks for this more than interesting session. Thanks everyone for joining and asking those delightful questions. And of course, most of all, I'd like to thank Paolo Pezzin from Napapijri. Thank you very much for sharing all those so much interesting
insights.
Thank
you too, to give me the possibility to share our experience, our story, let's say.
Thank you very much, and the warmest greetings to Italy, as well as the warmest greetings to Albin Kaelin, founder and owner of EPEA Switzerland. Thanks for sharing all your processes and knowledge for decades you're sharing with us over the last years, again and again, and as well today on this conference here on the second chapter of the Cradle to Cradle Congress in 2021. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much.